we gave him all the lyrics for the record, and like, because there's so many songs that are just like hurtful lyrics about family members and stuff. uh we kind of gave him the idea that we wanted it to look like a child that had lost something very important in their life,
Hmm.
and he came up with he literally just sent us a drawing of this every void, and we were like, damn, that's so sick.
Hi, welcome back to the Headbangers podcast, where your hosts Nathan and Brad. Here today, we're joined by Chris from Bodysnatcher. How you doing, man? To start off with.
Good, man. How are you guys?
We're good.
Yeah,
We're
good, man.
Awesome.
So, we'd like to start off with a little icebreaker. What's your funniest gig or tour story that you're willing to disclose?
There's a lot. I mean, our band thinks farts are the funniest thing in the world, probably. But no, there was one time, pretty embarrassing story, but it was one of the last days of tour, and I had to use the restroom as per usual, and I ran out of toilet paper completely, and there was no more toilet paper in the entire venue. But I was like,
no.
I'll be all right, because I got to use what toilet paper was there. But after the show, we went to a gas station, and there was definitely poop in my boxers.
Do you know what's so funny about this is that we've had a lot of bands that have come forward and said that they've had like shit stories, like including Sean from Ingested. Like, he was talking to us like just about being on tour, and then like a similar situation happened. I just
actually,
this has happened a long time.
When we toured with Ingested here in the States, their tour manager shit his pants.
Oh no. It's the Ingested curse.
Yeah.
I was saying to Brad, it's like a running theme. Like, there's always a shit story where it's there, like it's either someone shit himself, or there's been shit involved, where there's like been shit found somewhere where they're like, what, how has that even got there?
It just goes to show everybody thinks shit is funny.
Definitely
All for it.
Or really gross.
Also, you guys are sort of like got some of the fattest breakdowns in the music industry, in my opinion.
Thank you.
What would you say is the key to a good breakdown, really? What is the best part?
As far as what I always tell bands, because I produce a lot of bands too, and so what I always tell bands, like when we're writing something, is like there has to be a wow factor. Like, and it's hard when you've been writing a song because you've been hearing that part over and over again. But if you listen to it with a fresh mind, and there's a lot of bands have breakdowns, you're like, oh, that's a cool breakdown, but the way it comes in doesn't make you go, holy crap, you know what I mean? So like it has to come in a way. It has to be delivered in a way that makes you go, wow. You know what I mean? So I just say like there has to be some sort of wow factor in how it's delivered, because if it's just like a part that goes to another part and like, yeah, it's a cool breakdown, but it didn't make you feel a certain way, then you're not doing it right. When like there's a lot of bands out right now that have, I mean, I think there's a lot of really sick bands that have super sick breakdowns, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, damn, that doesn't make me want to like throw bricks at a wall, like it has to make you want to be involuntarily violent. Like it has to just make you want to create some type of violence.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like this is the thing. Like when I listen to a breakdown, it is true. Like sometimes you just don't get the wow factor, but it's like it's got all the ingredients. So why the fuck is it not making me want to do that? Like what is like? Is this something? I mean, obviously, if you produce some stuff as well, and you do sound engineering, like is there something that happens in post production that actually makes it more, giving it the wow factor?
I don't think it's in the post production at all. I think a lot of it's a guitar player and how like tone 100%. I mean, I think most of the tone is in a guitar player's picking hand. There's plenty of people that can shred super hard, but they can't produce a chug that makes you stank face, you know, like it's got to make you just be like, ugh, you know, and so you have to have really good chugs, which is one thing, and two, they're just like, it has to be transitioned, like you have to have some sort of transition that goes from a riff to another riff. In Bodysnatcher, we actually have a lot of either non-existent transitions, so it's just like snap and it happens, or we have like 4 to 8 bar transitions. So like, you know, a lot of times there's like bands will do a fill from part to part, but there's no actual transition part as a whole. So, you know, a lot of bands will have a riff that's a repeating riff and they'll just do a drum fill straight into something. But what we'll do is we'll have a riff and then we'll have a part that's specifically meant to be a transition that's like 4 to 8 measures long that leads into the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite interesting, that.
It is interesting sort of like seeing the makeup of like a beat down, like, because like for like on my side, I do agree with you. There's like a lot of people that wait it just kind of falls flat when they do it, because it's like, oh, if there'd been like something there beforehand, it could have hit so differently. Like even like a sample, like I always find like, you know, when you have that really atmospheric sample beforehand, and then it comes in, it just makes it way more amplified.
Yeah, and you have to be super creative because, I mean, people. Sorry.
Noise.
Because people will dog on those parts all the time. Like, oh, they're so easy to play, which, yeah, breakdowns are easy to play. But is it really easy to create an extremely catchy breakdown? Or, you know what I mean? And in my opinion, it's a lot more difficult to create something that's catchy, that's going to stick in your head, than it is to just create something that's difficult to play, you know? And so you have to be super creative with parts like that. Because of the fact that there's people out there that are going to be like, oh, well, that's just easy to play, you know. But
it's like, oh, it's just open notes, and then like, it's like, yeah, we know, but it sounds sick. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like that's like people that say breakdowns are dumb, like they can fuck off. Like you listen to breakdowns at one point and you thought they fucking kicked ass, and you know they still kick ass.
I feel like when the breakdown doesn't hit. Yeah, I feel like when the breakdown doesn't hit, it's like getting fucking blue balled. Like you got all that fucking like build up, and it's just like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, like the newest song that we just put out is like it just ends, which is like one of the first songs we've ever put out that didn't end with a heavy part. Like there's only one main part of that newest song that we put out that has a breakdown, but we just wanted to put that song out because it was like the one song on our new record that is kind of like more of a hardcore song in a sense, but it still had like, you know, all the ingredients of a Bodysnatcher song. But yeah, we wanted to put that one song out because we knew it was going to throw people off, and then when the next single comes out, people are going to lose their fucking minds. I'm so stoked.
Fucking slaps.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a good track.
Yeah, it really does. I listened to it just before the interview, and I love it, man.
Hell yeah!
I'm so excited for like the new album. Like it's, I am really excited for that track.
I'm extremely excited too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I wanted to ask. I know that in like 2014, some of your band members said that the Florida scene, you know, for like metal was kind of slowly dying. You know, due to like most of the attention being on mainstream artists. So I want to say, like, do you think that's changed since? And like, did you agree at the time, or like, how are things now in the Florida metal scene?
Things have changed massively. So I was in another band for a long time called King Conquer, and so like I toured from like 2006 to 2013, and with my older band, and back then, dude, it was like you couldn't get kids to buy merch. It was, I mean, I lived on my friends' couches for like 6 years in between tours. It was like there was nothing to be made. It was just, you just did it because I felt like it was the only thing I knew how to do, you know. And then I started doing the recording studio thing, and I actually wasn't in the band until after Death of Me was recorded. But I recorded the album Death of Me, and I was like, damn, I like this. This is like what I wanted my old band to be. Like, I just wanted to be a breakdown band, you know? And then like in 2017, a bunch of uh, uh basically all the members quit, and so I told the singer, I was like, "Yeah, I'll play drums," and he was like freaked out because he was a huge King Conquer fan, and so then I joined the band, but going from not touring or going from touring in like the 2008 to 2012 era and then jumping into touring back into touring at the end of 2017 into 2018 was completely different because it was like all these new kids, but also like the United States wasn't we were much better off as an economy than we were back in 2008. So like I feel like more people have a little bit of extra money so they can allow themselves to do things more than they could back then. And I think that's really the main factor is the fact that people can afford to buy a shirt here and there or buy a concert ticket here and there when, you know, in 2010, 2011, a lot of people couldn't.
Oh yeah,
yeah. For
it's
sure.
like it's crazy to think how like the world sort of changed since like 2008 because like I was like quite young when obviously the financial crash happened and everything like that. But there was just like this. I do remember just this weird sort of atmosphere.
It was like you
everywhere
could
for
people
a good
like
few years. Like
people could do things, but it was like, I mean, you know, if you did $400 or $500 in merch back then, you were like, holy crap, you know what I mean? And like now, if you do $400, $500 in merch, you're like, really, you know, like
That's it.
that's what happened tonight, you know. But I mean, you should still be very appreciative if you do $400 or $500
Oh yeah.
because it's like it's still awesome. But like when you gauge the amount of people that were at shows and stuff like that, it's just like you can tell people are just a little bit more comfortable right now.
Oh,
And
yeah,
social
definitely.
media, I mean, social media has grown so much that I feel like that was a big help in putting the scene back on the map.
Oh yeah, like because now like I mean you can literally grab any band you sort of want at the tip of your fingertips.
Yeah,
Really, like
it was.
any sort of thing you can think of,
Mhm.
you're like, let's find it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like I remember back in the day there was a website called hxcmp3.com, and like that's how I found bands like All Shall Perish before they ever put out like a full record and stuff like that. And it was just you know, now you can just go on Spotify and look at what bands sound like a band that you like and find a bunch of music. Back then it was like the internet was so new that it was really hard to find out new bands. But also I remember early on, if we saw on a tour flyer that a band was from a different state, everybody was going, whether they heard of them or not, you know. But so I guess the scene wasn't as saturated as it is now, which was a good thing. But then there was that lull period, you know, from like 2012 to 2014. It was just like everything was just kind of weird.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. But I think like you said, social media and Spotify has had such a big hand in that. Like I remember when I was like younger and I was like getting into metal and hardcore and stuff like that, I just have the same 6 CDs. I'd just be spinning over and over again
Yep.
because there wasn't Spotify back then, and like, you know, not really much of a social media presence for a lot of bands. So like, you know, you just listen to that, and then now
Yep.
you can just go onto Spotify and just find a mix of like 70 bands. Like, okay, well, I guess this is it now. The
Yeah.
rabbit hole.
Yep, I remember I like they like all the record labels used to put out like compilation CDs and stuff. Like I remember like Trust Kill Records that had like Bleeding Through and you know all those like old school metalcore bands, and it was so sick. I remember when you got your hands on one of those, you're like yes, like you know what I mean. Like you had one song from each band that you thought was cool, you know.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. One thing that I wanted to ask you about as well is to do the name Bodysnatcher. I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's true. So I kind of wanted to ask you on it. That it was based off Ed Gein. Is that
Yeah,
true? And
yeah.
if it is it something that sort of interests you as a band? Because I've got a bit of a weird obsession with serial killers, so I like kind of geeking out about it.
So the name, yeah, it was based off Ed Gein, but there was already a band called Ed Gein, which was a
Hmm.
awesome band. But then, as like they were looking. So I wasn't in the band when they formed the name, but they like our singer is only original member. Kyle's the only original member. Everybody else joined when I joined, because there was like a massive shift in the band. So Death of Me came out, and then right after Death of Me came out, basically everybody quit the band after this one tour. And because I had recorded the records and stuff, I was like, dude, I got people, you know what I mean? Like, let's go. And so we basically reformed the band with an entire new lineup. And then that's when we did the re-release of Death of Me, This Heavy Void, and then all the singles and stuff like that. But so as far as band name, like apparently Kyle said that they wanted to base it off some sort of serial killer just because they thought that was badass. And, you know, Ed Gein was a cool one, and Ed Gein is like such a sick name. And then once they did more research, they found out that, you know, his nickname was Bodysnatcher. So that's what they went with, because his name was already taken. But me personally, I'm not like too deep into the serial killer world. But Kyle Medina, he could definitely get into it.
But, you know, I just thought it was really interesting because it sort of stood out to me. I was like, oh, because not many people know of him. It's you know, he's not like the big news sort of serial killers.
Yeah, exactly. So
I was like, oh, that's.
We did the VIP that we did on our last tour. We did like a questionnaire with people, and that was one of the questions. But I think only like 2 people on the whole tour got what it was from. Everybody always thinks it's from that Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the old movie. And but there's only like 2 or 3 people on the whole tour for all the VIPs that got that question right. But when they did, we were like, yes.
Nice. What I wanted to ask about, I'm loving this like sense of community at the moment. Is like, you know, like bands like kind of like following each other on social media and then like making merch collaborations like you guys did with Paleface, and then Slaughter to Prevail did with, you know, Lorna Shore. Like, how did this like spawn for you guys? And like, do you think like it's pretty healthy for the scene? Because I think it's really cool to see bands interact like that. Like, it hasn't been done as much until like the last 2 years.
I think it's very cool. You know, because a lot of times there's like, you know, bands kind of pick and choose favorites, and there's always going to be little cliques in the scene, you know, like it's always been like that. And like, you know, some people respect you, some people don't, but whenever you find bands that like you really click with, it's cool to do stuff like that. It's kind of like bringing out your homie's band on a tour, like for their first tour. It makes you feel really good, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know, I think stuff like that's cool, and it definitely helps the scene. And a lot of kids that are just show goers don't really see the clicky side, you know what I mean? Like who's friends with who. Like they expect us all to be friends with everybody, which in a perfect world I would love that, because I love all genres of heavy music. But I think it's awesome. I think it gives showgoers like a cool thing to look forward to, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the kids like all the bands as well, so when they see stuff like that, they want to jump all over it, you know? It's like 2 of their bands, you know?
It's kind of like if you're a fucking like Marvel fan and you see and, like, you know, like
sort of Brad's point on the merch, what would you say?
Oh, I think you like Carlton cut back in there, so we got to speak at the same time. No, I was saying about the Marvel thing, like, you know, just like when people see all the favorite superheroes together, and it's just like you're seeing these bands and they're all chatting and they're all like, you know, just not taking themselves too seriously, having like a laugh. And I think that's so important to see, and it adds like another depth to, you know, bands that you didn't see before, maybe.
Yeah, I agree, and it takes, you know, a lot of people will put like certain individuals or bands like on a pedestal, like they're this like bigger entity than them. And when bands are doing stuff like that, I feel like it reminds people like, yo, we're just fucking regular ass people, and you can come up and joke with us just like anybody else. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's cool that everybody's publicly speaking to each other and cracking jokes and stuff like that. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, I really like that. The fact that Facebook had kind of added that little feature where bands could interact in that way, because like it just adds like an extra layer of it, where you're just scrolling through and like there'll be like a post and it's like just a bunch of like bands just like interacting with each other, taking the piss out of each other, or like throwing like little inside jokes in there. It's there like, shows a lot more of every band's like personality behind the band as well, behind the
Yeah.
music. I feel like that's something a lot of people gravitate towards.
Yeah, and it's cool, like especially with like live and stuff, and now you can bring other people on your lives with you and stuff. Like, you know, a lot of times I'll do like Instagram lives and stuff. Like, I'll be like working out or something, and I'll just like bring in like one of my friends from another band. Like, I'd bring in the singer from Strangled, and we'd like have a conversation for 30 minutes about music industry stuff while people watch. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, it's cool, all the options that social media has brought into it all.
Oh yeah, definitely. And on Brad's point of like sort of merch collabs, is there any band that you would like to do a collab with in the future?
Hatebreed.
Oh yeah,
I love Hatebreed. Hatebreed's like one of my all-time favorite bands. So
oh yeah, definitely. That would be sick. The early stuff as well for Hatebreed's some of my favorite, because my friend Dylan messaged me saying, "Oh, have you heard like some of like the first Hatebreed albums?" I was like, "You're speaking to the right person about it." Because they're really good. I was there like, I know. Like, dude, I said, there's a reason why they got so big. Like,
it changed hardcore. You know, like every band that was like, all right, this is what we have to sound like now. You know, like.
Oh yeah, you just felt the waves from that, like from their first couple albums hit all the way through hardcore. Because as well, like I feel like before then it was mainly like a lot of straight edge bands that was really like
it was like more so like on the punk side, you know.
Yeah,
and Hatebreed really brought that like that new aggressive side to it, you know. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, they definitely played a big part into like what we have now, which I think is like probably the best hardcore has ever been.
Yeah,
like you listen to like bands like God's Hate, like that EP they put out earlier last year. Jesus Christ, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, but you can feel that Hatebreed vibe still in there. Like,
oh yeah,
that sort of pent up anger that's like entwined in it now. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So now that you own your own studio, I wanted to ask, like, you know, has that always been a lifelong goal of yours? And like, you know, what are the pros and cons for you of having that?
It wasn't a lifelong goal, actually. So like out of high school, I was playing music, and like I quit school like 3 months before I graduated. And just because I was touring with my band back then. And I don't know, I just remember like every time we were in the studio with my old band, I was like, damn, this is cool, you know. And then once that band kind of like disbanded in a sense, I started playing like bar gigs. I like joined a bar band just to like pay my bills, you know. And I had so much extra time on my hand because I only played at nighttime. I'd play from like, you know, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. every night. So I had all day, every day. I was just bored. So I was like, I'm gonna learn how to record myself playing drums, you know. And so I started doing that, and then just kept going. And then it eventually turned into a full-time thing that I've done now for like the last 6 years. That's so like ever since, like I did my first like paid client, I think in 2016 or 2017, and then it was like instantly was booked, and I've just been booked ever since. Like, you know, a lot of years I'm booked like 6 to 8 months in advance. Which is,
do you get people like booking into the studio because they're like massive fans of Bodysnatcher? So like that's the sole reason that they want to book
it. Yeah, for sure. So cool. Which is like, you know, that's definitely a big help. But like I was also a big part of that Infant Annihilator record, the second one, the first one they did with Dickie, because Dickie lives in the same town as me. So nice. that second Infant Annihilator record, I did a lot of work on that. They actually stayed at my house where they're tracking that. And then I've done work with basically every Traders record, because they all live here as well. Every Bodysnatcher record besides the EP, the first EP. Annotation Zone Autopsy, I mixed their last record. So like I've worked with a bunch of pretty notable bands, and that's just that alone has been enough to keep me busy because people will look and see who mixed it or whatever. Because most of the work that I do now is just mixing and mastering work. So people will track it themselves or track it at another studio and then send it to me to have it mixed and mastered.
Oh yeah, but that's like sort of like the beauty of how it's done now. Like you get a lot of people that can just record it on the computer. Like and it is just a simple case of just sending over the stems, and it's made the entire process so much more streamlined.
And it's like it's so much like, you know, back in the day you'd spend fucking $80,000 if you went to a good studio, you know, and now bands can, if you know, if you're tracking real drums, it is more expensive, you know, it's a lot more work. And that's why a lot of people revert to doing MIDI drums now, especially if they're tracking themselves. But I mean, I prefer live drums, but that's something that takes a lot more skill set to learn how to track and edit than just doing MIDI drums and stuff. But since MIDI drums sounds so real now, it's so easy for bands to track themselves at their house and buy a decent microphone and track their own vocals, and they can do it on their own time without spending, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, and then send it off to be mixed for a couple grand, and you know what I mean? So people are saving so much money now, and they don't have to meet deadlines.
Yeah, plus like the equipment is so much cheaper as well. Like you can get like a really good microphone for at least like 40 quid.
Oh yeah.
At most. Like
no, I actually so there's a video coming out. Have you heard that band Waste?
No, I've not heard of them before.
There's a band from the States called Waste, and I actually haven't. I've told a couple of my friends, but so I produced their last record. They flew here and tracked the whole thing with me, but so they have 2 new songs they're about to put out that they tracked and recorded themselves, but I mixed the entire record with a $30 plugin. One plugin, I used it on every single track. I did not use anything besides this one plugin, but the plugin has an EQ and a compressor, and I figured out a way where I could distort it artificially and stuff like that. So I used this one $30 plugin. I mixed both songs completely with a $30 plugin, and I just wanted to show people that it's not the expensive plugins that matter. It's the ears and how you know how to work a compressor and an EQ, you know? So, but whenever I think they're putting it out in a couple of weeks, and I'm really stoked for people to hear it just so I can be like, I mixed that with one plugin.
That was me.
Plus, mixing it off of one plugin, I can imagine it's just because I've noticed when I've done like recording at home, like the amount of shit that you have open, eventually like it just slowly eat away, and your machine just becomes such a like you're there like, oh god.
Oh yeah.
So like having that one plugin, it's way easier. Like
I still have that one plug. I'm using like 50 instances of that one plugin. I'm using that plugin over and over onto all the different channels. So it's still quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I have a pretty good computer. I normally don't run into anything too crazy.
So yeah, I'm using.
I'm talking right now. My session. Hold on a second. My session's open and my CPU is like maxed out.
See, at the moment I just use my MacBook.
Oh yeah, I recorded many records with just a MacBook.
It runs okay, to be fair. It's just like I found with like when my band recorded our demos on this like an older MacBook. It was quite a funny thing. Like when you'd play the MIDI drums, like for some reason it would just crash eventually. So you'd have like bits with blast beats, and you just say, and then like that was it. Like that, so you just stop, and you're like, why is it doing that? It was quite funny. So like, what is there any bands that you've got lined up that you're looking forward to working with at your studio and everything like
that? Next week I'm doing another single with Traders. And then pretty sure they've been talking about that already. I have a band called Thirst that I'm doing in March. but then right after that, we're flying over to you guys actually, and then
yeah, I bought he's Leeds. I've got my ticket. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, shit! I didn't realize.
yeah. So I think we leave here on the 15th. Oh no, I leave my house on the 15th. Drive over to where my singer lives because my singer lives like 3 hours from me, and my guitar player live in one city in Florida, and then our bass player and our singer live like 3 hours away from us on the other side of Florida. And so we're gonna drive up there, and then we fly out on the 16th, get there the 17th, and then first show is the 18th, and then I think the last show is the 25th or 26th.
I'm so excited for the lead show, man. Like, it's gonna be so you guys fucking ingested a cranius. Like,
I'm so fucking stoked to see a cranius. Holy shit.
They're so good.
Kicks so much ass.
I mean, I've been meaning to ask, to be fair, like, because obviously you're coming to the UK soon, like, and you have played the UK in the past. Like, what would you say is like the biggest contrast to the UK scene and the American scene? I've always been curious that like
Bodysnatcher has never been.
Have you not?
No,
I'm sure. Yeah,
it's our first time in the UK. Yeah, first time in Europe. We had a tour booked, but COVID made it cancel, and that stuff sucks. I've been there, but it was in 2011 with my old band. Okay. We were on tour with Suffocate and Blind Witness. If you remember those bands, pretty old bands.
Yeah, Suffocate are good.
But yeah, so I mean, from what I remember, the shows weren't like too crazy different, but it's been so long that I don't know. Like, shows in the States lately have been fucking bananas. Like, it's been so like since kids have been allowed to go to shows again, it's been fucking crazy. It's
man,
it's been awesome.
No doubt the crowd's gonna be crazy for you guys, and everyone can't wait. Like, everyone's like just saying how much the show's gonna pop off, and like you guys are welcome. Honestly, we can't wait.
Yeah, I'm stoked. We ordered. I think we over ordered merch, but I'm hoping we didn't. We ordered a fucking lot of merch for the UK shows. But
trust me, they'll go away quick. Like, honestly, how
we have like
a full.
We have a full jumpsuit. We haven't posted any of it, but we have a full jumpsuit with like crossed AK-47s on the back of it.
Nice.
And like the joggers that match it with like a machete down the other side of it. It's fucking sick. I'm stoked.
Yeah, no, honestly, trust me, that'll sell out in no time, because I'm not even every gig I've been to quite recently is like I hate like carrying like a shirt around whilst the gig's going. So I'll go after the show and like maybe have a chat with like one of the band members as well whilst I'm there.
Yeah.
And like every time it's always been like so packed where I'm like, you end up getting to the front and you're like, okay, I get that t-shirt, that's sold out.
Yeah.
Can I get that hat? That's sold out.
Yeah.
What about that bag? Yeah, that's sold out as well. You're there like, what isn't? It's like
I'll take the tablecloth.
Yeah. We're bringing a bunch of we had like these drawstring backpacks with the logo on it that we had left over from our last tour. So we're just gonna like stuff a bunch of those in a suitcase, and we're bringing like a bunch of flags that we had left over. But then we're also getting a bunch of stuff printed over there too. It's like full jumpsuit that's like matching. That's the hoodie and the joggers, and then 3 or 4 shirt designs. And we got one that's like this like cool new graffiti logo that we have, and then a death metal logo one, and then a like normal Bodysnatcher logo.
Awesome.
Oh, man.
I want to ask, so obviously you played quite a few shows. Has there ever been a moment when you've had a fangirl moment, like you've met like a musician that you personally like, I've looked up to this person for so long, and then you finally get to meet them? Like, what's been the craziest for you?
Anyone in A.D.A to Remember.
Oh wow, really?
So I mean, A.D.A to Remember was, I mean, I always loved that band, and they were a Florida band. They were like one of those bands that just like blew up so big, and it was just like, holy crap. But in my opinion, they deserved it. They were like one of the catchiest bands, and they had heavy parts, and it was just like so sick. And then in 2020, we did like one of the last tours before the world shut down. So like our tour was like January and February of 2020, and our Florida show Neil, the guitar player from Day to Remember, was at our show, and I was like, yo, is that fucking Neil from Day to Remember? You know? And everyone was like, damn, yeah, it is. And I was like, holy fuck. I was like, that's fucking sick. You know, and then later on he added us all on Facebook, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then like a year later he's like, hey, where are you tracking drums? You want to come track drums in my studio for your new album? And I was like, yeah. And he basically, yeah, I mean, it was sick. So yeah, whenever I track drums, I went to his studio, tracked the drums for the new album with him at his studio. It was sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be
That's
quite
really
a
cool.
surreal experience for you.
Yeah, and it was just like so normal. It was like right away. It was just like homies right away. You know, it was sick. Me and him are like the same age, so it's like a lot of the same, you know, growing up show memories and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like as well, like Data Remember, one of those bands like what you said, though, they were so catchy. Like I feel like everyone knows obviously like the breakdown to Mr. Highways thinking about the end.
Exactly.
Like
yeah,
it literally is like
if somebody
ingrained.
plays Taking Back Sunday at a bar, everybody fucking knows it. You know, it's like that's like a Day to Remember.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
just a good band.
It was like peak. It was like peak sort of like the older stuff that they've done, even the newer stuff that they've done. Like it's just as good as each other, but in different ways. Like
yeah,
they really don't get a lot of credit for like how good they are actually writing. Like because everything
Homesick?
they do is top notch. Yeah,
Homesick was like there wasn't a bad song on that record.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Every person I know listened to that record front to back like a million times.
Yeah,
it's like classic.
The newer stuff they've gone is like a lot like very different to like their older stuff, but it's still really catchy. Well done, really well done, really well written. Like I can't fault them for it.
Yep,
definitely. Like what one thing as well that I really like about Bodysnatcher is your art. Like I feel like you guys have very very unique art. Like when I look at a Bodysnatcher album, I know it's a Bodysnatcher album, not just obviously by the name, but obviously just by the art and the art style you guys kind of go for. What sort of like is the creative process for creating it?
So I mean, we've always tried to keep incorporating like the rose somewhere on every album, and that wasn't even like a purposeful thing. It's just like, you know, that happened to be what the art came out as on one of the records, but it became like such a staple. Like, you know, everything we would post would have like the rose emoji or something like that. So when This Heavy Void came out, that our artwork was actually done by somebody who's never done our album artwork ever before, and it was a dude that has tattooed me before, and you know, he's super into punk and stuff like that. So I was like, yo, would you ever like draw something for album art? And he was like, hell yeah, I would love to do that. So we kind of gave him all the lyrics for the record, and like, because there's so many songs that are just like hurtful lyrics about family members and stuff. We kind of gave him the idea that, you know, we wanted it to look like a child that had lost something very important in their life, you know. And he came up with he literally just sent us a drawing of This Heavy Void, and we were like, damn, that's so sick. And it had the rose in it just like floating in a pond and stuff. And then the art for the new record, we knew we wanted it to be actually hand painted. So the new art is like, it is painted on this thing. It's like 3 feet wide. It's like completely hand painted, and it's just what the album art is just a picture of it basically. And it's, if you zoom in, you can like see all the brush strokes and everything. It's so fucking sick. But so a lot of the songs on the new record are basically saying that it's okay to find that new light and to like overcome those dark places in your life. So that's why you can like see the mountain come up, and on the one side of it is like the fire coming up through the band's symbol, and then on this side of it is like greener grass basically, and the rose growing. And so basically we just wanted it to portray that like no matter what shitty things life is throwing at you, there is going to be betterness on the other side.
It's weird because it complements like the singles that you release as well. Like I'm excited to hear the new album, but I sense like a bit of like death doom in the new songs. Like they seem like they've got a lot of atmosphere. Like obviously you've been a very dynamic band, but I feel like these two tracks in particular, there's almost like a new branch of Bodysnatcher coming out.
Yeah,
Is that like going to complement like the rest of the album? Then is there going to be like a lot of new turns in there?
yeah, like that Absolved of the Strings and Stone. That song was like
Yeah.
I love that song. I think that song is like such a more like mature sound as far as the writing goes compared to anything we've ever put out. Um, but yeah, there's I don't know. I just feel like the new album is everything is structured better. We had more time, and it's the we all wrote This Heavy Void together, but we were kind of trying to we I don't know. We all hadn't like found ourselves yet because it was all newer members and it was the first thing we had fully written together. But we were also trying to like hold on to some of the aspects of the older music. But with this record, we are just we wrote what we wanted to write, but still made sure it was as aggressive as possible.
No, yeah,
Oh yeah, I'm
and
excited.
like as well, like you had the years as as a band to sort of mature together as well. Like
Yeah, and just
that would definitely
pouring
rub off
so
on the
much.
music.
Yeah. Yeah, this record was just like, I don't know, everything just happened way more easily. And yeah, it was just, and we had lots of time. Even though, actually, not really. Right when COVID hit, we just like kept putting out songs.
That's
Because
good.
we signed a new record label and then COVID hit and we are like, fuck, what do we do? And then so I called my manager. I was like, dude, I know everyone's just gonna like sit on their asses. Like, what if we just put out a single every other month with a music video? And he was like, well, we can't really, the label can't really fund that. And I was like, I don't give a shit. I was like, I fucking record it. Like, we'll pay for the music videos ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fucking care. And he's like, all right, and let me talk to him. And they were like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. So we just like we put out Break the Cycle and Take Me to Hell and King of the Rats, you know what I mean? And none of those are part of a record at all. Those are all just like straight up singles that we just put out for fun,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
I
love
kind
that.
of like that trend though, that like a lot of bands are sort of doing where they're releasing a lot more singles. Like it reminds me of like how like sort of like rappers are doing it now as well, where they
Yeah.
just release sort of one-off singles every now and again.
Yeah,
Like, but
that
like
was the idea.
yeah, I mean like it's just really refreshing because it's like not everyone's got time to listen to like a full EP or a full album, but everyone's got time to listen to a single.
Yep.
And like it just breaks it up where he's like, oh, I kind of like this is its own standalone thing. Like
Yeah,
it's
and
interesting.
it kept like it keeps hype up because people are like, damn, are they putting out a record? But they don't know. You know what I mean? Like the only
I was
people
gonna
that
say
know
that, yeah.
is us, So like people it always keeps people talking kind of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
What would you say is like the biggest contrast then to like how you wrote this sort of album to how you've written previous since you joined? Like is it sort of more like you mentioned that obviously it's about coming out of darkness and everything like that. Is it more uplifting as well as a sort of theme in that case?
I mean, they're definitely song like EDA is kind of like yeah, those lyrics are depressing because of the topic at hand, but also the song also explains that it is okay to let yourself grow and and overcome those feelings. And there's a couple songs on the record that are like that, but I don't know. So we always try and write lyrics about how we're actually feeling or write lyrics about things that have actually happened to us in life, opposed to a lot of bands, writing stories about things that aren't real just because it's brutal. So like I feel like that's kind of a thing that sets us aside from a lot of bands in our genre, is that we have lyrics that a lot of people can relate to, because you can take the lyrics in a bunch of different ways. And but there's songs on this record that are about about what happens to you after you die and not knowing, and the anxiety that comes with that. And those were the two songs that I had a lot to do with. And I feel like that's something that literally everybody, no matter what their religion, what their beliefs, like everybody thinks about that at some point in time, you know. And nobody knows, and nobody will ever know. And that's the next single we have coming out is that's what it's about. And there's also songs about realizing that, you know, if you did have a hard upbringing or an unfortunate life when you were growing up, like take that as a win, because it basically shows you that you can grow from being put in bad scenarios. You know, it's like I feel like growing up as a less fortunate kid, like in a poorer family, made me a stronger person in a lot of ways than kids that grew up in a more fortunate setting, you know, because if they were put in a shitty situation now, they would have no fucking clue what to do with themselves. And me, I feel like I've been through so much shit that I don't know, I'm just thankful that I've already went through it and overcame it. And basically it's okay to like to see the value in stuff like that.
I respect that you guys write for the time. Like, you know, you don't write about things just for the sake of writing it. Like, if it's in the moment and this is how you're feeling right now, then that's what's coming out. Like, I know there's so many bands that must just like write about what they used to write about, even though it doesn't really apply to them anymore. Like, you know, you get like a massive band, you know, I'm talking like mainstream fucking stadium playing band, and they'll be writing about like, oh, you know, I'm poor or whatever. It's like, no, you're not anymore. So like the fact that not anymore. So like, you know, I think it's good to keep the authenticity, because, you know, if you write from the heart, then it's going to show and people will take
be
note.
Better. And every member in the band writes lyrics, so it's not you know, so whenever, like, we always put our initials like in the album booklet for who wrote the lyrics to what song. A lot of people don't know that, but there's always an initial, like This Heavy Void, you can see the initial at the bottom of each song, see which band member wrote the lyrics, because all of us write lyrics.
That's really cool. I especially relate to the what you mentioned about the, you know, the thought process of like what happens after you die, because so I've definitely had many like sleepless nights about where it's like you kind of just sit there and ponder, and you're like, shit, but what happens? Like it's just constantly eats up in your head, and then no matter what, you don't really get the answer to it. You just go, I guess it's gonna happen, but until it happens.
you just gotta be stoked on where you're at the time, and just let it fucking ride.
Right, I feel like a lot of people try to avoid thinking about it, but it's like, hey, you know what? If anything, like, just appreciate like.
Just appreciate where you're at that moment.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, instead of worrying about the future, just like stay in that moment and just be like, thankful for.
And I am always like, I have pretty bad anxiety. I'm always thinking ahead of, you know, many years and days and months, and you know, I've never had a problem with reflecting on my past, thankfully, because that's where depression sits. But I'm also I do struggle with overthinking the future, for sure.
Yeah, so in a way, like, I'm like, ignorance is bliss. Like, I'd love to be one of those people that just like goes through life, they do the things that they do, but they don't like think about these existential questions and like that keep you awake. And I was like, I wonder what that'd be like. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So I want to talk about your personal life. You know, like, obviously you talked about Bodysnatcher. I know that you like to go for runs. Like, what's one of the most like challenging routes that you've taken? And like, does that contrast to when you hit a wall with music? Sometimes do you use like one to apply to the other to be able to like break forward and like, you know, get past it?
I feel like running is fucking hard.
I was just looking at him like, fuck this, I could not do this.
I don't know, it's definitely different than music. I mean, music, I feel like I don't really smoke weed, but like I will sometimes, and it definitely helps when you're writing. If you're stuck in a position when you're writing, you know what I mean? I feel like with writing music, taking a break is a lot of times the answer. You know what I mean? And coming back 30 minutes later and listening to it with fresh ears and going on from there. With running, man, that shit's hard, dude. Like, because I've been running for like, I don't know, almost 2 years now, and I also weigh a lot more than the average runner. Like, I weigh like 225 pounds. I don't know what that reverts to, but
we do it in stone. It's weird.
Yeah, it's different. But most runners are like, they weigh, like most male runners weigh between like 150 to 170 pounds, and I weigh 225 because I also weight train a lot. But running's really hard. It's like this crazy mental thing, because like you think you can't keep going, but you can. You can always keep going, and you just have to like get past that point. And I don't know. It's like once I got to where I could run 3 miles, everything kind of got easier. And now I know, even now when I'm first starting, like that first 1 mile or 2 miles I'm always like, damn, this is really hard today. But as soon as I break past that 2 mile mark, like everything just gets lighter, and I'm like, all right, I could probably hit 4 or 5 miles, and it's just like, I don't know. There's just this mental wall you have to get past, and once you get past it, it just gets easier.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Also, you have to your cardiovascular health.
Oh yeah.
Some people can't. Like you definitely have to build it up. It took me a good 5 or 6 months before I could actually do 3 miles without stopping. But then once I got to that point, it was like, I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon, which is like 13 point something miles, So I did a half marathon last year. This year, really? I really want to try and do a full marathon.
Definitely. Like, I remember last year, I got into running a little bit as well. Like my friend Caleb, he got really into it, and like I went on a couple like runs with him, and like he was like obsessed with it. Like Brad will like contest, like he definitely was like doing like near enough like marathons every day. Like he got so obsessed with it, and like he was like, yeah, come on, and going for like a run when you've kind of ran, so like versus someone that's like a very experienced runner is like crazy, horrific, dude. Like because I remember running with him. He's there like, oh yeah, it's only like a couple more, like only a couple more miles. I was there like, miles. I was like, normally I'll be done by now. He's like, no, we can keep going. And we're running up this canal, and this one canal goes from Leeds to Liverpool. It's literally just a straight shoot, but it takes fucking ages. And I kept seeing like the signs. It's like, oh, a couple miles to Liverpool. I was there like, I ended up getting like a quarter of the way, some shit like that. And I'm like, wait, mate, we're gonna have to turn back. I was like, we might have to get a fucking taxi because we're walking that. I was there like,
yeah,
he was there like proper pushing, but
I don't know anybody. I literally run by myself every day. I don't have anybody that will run with me.
But the thing is, like, I was like, he just went, do you want to go on one? I was like, yeah. I was like really unprepared for it, wasn't really dressed for it either. And like, I was like, he just kept going, come on. He went, it just walk when you feel tired and get that energy back, and then just keep going. And it is true, you do get past that sort of mental block, but Jesus Christ, I remember like days afterwards, I was like barely able to like walk. I'd like wake up and like all my legs would be like seized up, everything.
Now I'm at a point now where like I'll do, my legs get tired while I'm running, but in like an hour I'll feel like I can go do it again,
Oh yeah. We are sort of like getting to the end point of the interview. So like one thing we always kind of like to leave it off with is, what advice would you give to yourself from the past, and also what advice would you give to a new musician starting out today?
Myself in the past. I don't know. I feel I'm like pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with all of my choices that I've made, if I'm being honest. I feel like there's no matter what I did, I wouldn't have been able to speed up the process. But as far as like new people is, I mean, this is easier said than done, but just be cool. You know what I mean? Just like be honest, have good morals. You know what I mean? Don't fucking everybody talks shit. Everybody talks shit about people they don't like. You know what I mean? Which like whatever, it's normal. Fucking talk shit if you want to, but just be a good human. Like everybody knows what good morals is. Just don't be a fucking dickhead. You know, and be normal. Try not to be annoying. You know, like if you think somebody's cool, go hang out with them like you'd hang out with your best friend. You know what I mean? It's like nobody's any different. Nobody's any better than anybody. And if somebody's like, oh, hey guys, like whatever, bring whatever you want and we'll sign it because we're this almighty band. Like, fuck you, dude. Like that's a given. You don't have to say that out loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like just be normal. You know, that's all anybody cares about. Is just being a fucking just being cool. You know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what it's about.
Like a lot of people
normal, cool, and good morals. That's all there is to it.
Definitely, I feel like a lot of people get that sort of ego and like like they might get a bit of traction and then like all of a sudden it's like it all kind of goes to their head and they say shit like that. It's like bring whatever you want and we'll sign it. It's like, but if someone like likes you enough to bring something for you to sign, of course you're gonna sign it. Of course you're gonna sign it. Yeah, like it's kind of like that's a given. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Chris. It's been a fucking sick interview. I'm honestly stoked to see you next month. Obviously with Majestic Radius. Yeah, and if you're watching any from Leeds, head down because it's going to be an absolute show. It's going to pop off. So yeah, it's been great. And if we see you about at the show, we'll come up and say hi.
Cool, dude.
Definitely. Well, hopefully we do get to see you next month. It's been an absolute blast.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.